I'm here with
Pierce,
Pierce. And where are you from, Pierce?
New Zealand.
And have you ever been to the USA?
Yeah, 2008 with my family.
Where did you go?
New York, which was exciting.
What was the best part of your experience in New York?
I went to a Yankees game and it went to the ninth inning. It was a real close game. I don't really understand baseball, but
Who does aside from Americans?
yeah, exactly.
And Japanese people because they love baseball. Yeah.
But it was awesome.
Describe the USA in one word.
Infinite.
Expand on that.
You can do anything there. There are no limits on growth or ideas or culture. Everything kind of takes off there rather than get suppressed.
Goes back to what some other people have said is opportunity. There's just unlimited opportunity. So this is an election year. So let's jump to the election. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Who do you think will win?
I think Kamala, she's riding a wave right now that she's uniting a lot of people. Okay. So I could see that happening.
Okay. What are your thoughts on each of them?
Well, Donald Trump, he kind of I guess came from outside the political system. So I guess he kind of changed or challenged the status quo in America. But I guess that was what he originally came from. What he actually did ended up being a lot different, and he kind of just divided people, made everything about his tweets rather than maybe his policies. And the Jan 6 stuff was probably the last moment where if I had any kind of respect maybe for him, it kind of went away after that. Yeah.
And Kamala Harris, what do you think about her?
I'm kind of interested in what her stance on Palestine is. I think it's a little different to Joe Biden, and I think that's a good thing. I know she's a prosecutor, as a lawyer. Yeah, which is quite interesting because Trump's a federal criminal, so kind of feel like that's the best person to put against a criminal. I like her style. I think it's good as well that if a woman took power in America, because they've never had some.
Who do you want to win?
Probably Kamala Harris. Okay. Yeah, I think she'd do more good, more benefit for America than Trump.
What do you like most about the USA?
I like their literature a lot. I like some of their authors.
What's your favorite American author?
I don't mind Hemingway, but if I had to choose one, be Ken Casey, who did this small book, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's my favorite American book.
And what do you hate most about the USA?
Kind of related to what was said earlier. I think they're a little xenophobic in some respects, because they rightfully think America is the center of the world. They maybe don't engage with other cultures as much as they could, and so they get a little bit narrow-minded about themselves.
Who's your favorite US celebrity?
Probably Jaylen Brown, because I think he stands for something. Yeah, he's with the Boston Celtics. He got left off the American Olympic team, and I think that was kind of unfair.
Yeah, wasn't he NBA MVP?
He was the finals MVP, which doesn't make any sense. And he had 3 of his teammates on the Olympic team, but not him.
Why?
There's some stuff around Nike, contractually. I think they'd think he says or he's plugged into the culture to the extent that he's a socially aware and social activist, and they maybe thought he would say something on the world stage.
What do you think of Americans? What comes to mind when you think of Americans?
Probably the same thing. Loud, you know them when you see them. The other thing I would say though that comes to mind is quite cheerful, if that makes sense. They don't seem that depressed. I'm not saying everyone seems depressed, but they think they have a spirit about them that they'll look on the bright side of life.
No, there are definitely some nations that you meet them and they're not as cheery or upbeat as Americans. Americans in general, I find, have an upbeat nature to them, which is always nice. Of course, that's a generalization. What do you think is the best influence of the USA in the world?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the value they place on art, all their film industry, even traditional artists like Warhol, and even just with writers and their literature. A lot gets said about capitalism and negative effects of it, but they always seem to be the center of new cultural waves, new cultural movements, artistic movements. And I think that's not a coincidence. I think having a strong economy supports great art.
I think you have to be at a given level of economic and social development to be able to really give focus to your artists and give that foundation they need. And obviously there's some less developed countries, if they had that same level of development, we'd see their art so much more in the world.
I agree. It's even an issue in New Zealand. There's not much economic support for artists, and therefore it's very hard to pursue that as a career and find monetary reward for that. So yeah, I agree completely.
What do you think is the worst influence of the USA on the world?
The imperialism is quite negative and it's quite widespread. Talk about Afghanistan, the pullout there, the Middle East, the presence in Israel, I think could be rethought. And then I think there is kind of conception that they might come into a country promising democratic spread of democracy, and really the country doesn't end up in such a great place afterwards. So yeah, war, terror, that kind of thing, I think.
What's one thing you'd like to see changed about the USA?
Maybe less of a reliance of their self-image, their idea of themselves as something defined by what's said on social media. So all the social media apps obviously are mainly from America. And I think people get an idea of America from YouTube, from like even just from Wikipedia, from Facebook comments that is quite negative and harmful to themselves. Like I think they're a better country than they give themselves credit to be, without also sometimes overvaluing themselves. So if it makes sense, I don't think you can find out about America from like a YouTube comment section or like from a Twitter argument or from like a Facebook post. I think it's more than that. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
So you just want that improved about how, I guess, America is shown in the world.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this video helps that.
Yeah, exactly.